And
okay. Imagine that you've just given birth to a beautiful baby girl. The labor was long, but as you stare at her sleeping face, you know it was definitely worth it. After spending the night in the hospital, the doctors release you to go home saying your baby is perfectly healthy. Follow up with your pediatrician in a couple of days. Life goes on as normal, but you soon notice that your baby stops eating and is overly lethargic. You're concerned and put in a call to your pediatrician. Before they can call you back, things go from bad to worse. Your precious baby is turning a bluish-gray color and you rush her to the hospital. Before you can even finish telling the admitting nurse what is going on, a doctor rushes down the hall, snaps her out of your arm, and rushes her to the back. She is immediately intubated and put on a ventilator. Later, you are told she came in with angel wings on her back. Once she is stable, they transport her to a special neonatal intensive care unit, where she undergoes more tests. As you stand helplessly and anxiously by, the doctors tell you they don't know what's wrong with her, but they promise to do everything they can to figure it out and save her life. The doctors finally tell you after a long sleepless night that there's a problem with her heart, and they recommend sending her to a pediatric hospital to perform extensive open heart surgery to repair the problem. The procedure is long and nerve-wracking, but the doctor tells you everything went great and she's just fine. Now that you have time to breathe, you wonder, is this the last of it? Is she really going to be okay now? The answer comes from a pediatric geneticist. Your daughter has Turner syndrome. If you're like my sister or any of us, when we found out, the first question that came into your mind is, what is Turner syndrome? According to the Turner Syndrome Society of the U.S., Turner syndrome is a chromosomal condition that describes girls and women with common features that are caused by complete or partial absence of the second sex chromosome. The statistics show that Turner syndrome occurs in 1 of every 2,500 live female births and in as many as 10% of all miscarriages. Understanding Turner syndrome, signs, symptoms, and health risks associated with it will improve the chances of women diagnosed with this chromosomal anomaly to live happy, healthy, productive lives. While there are some characteristics associated with Turner syndrome, no two cases are exactly the same. The following characteristics I'm going to discuss are simply a generalization and do not apply to all women or girls with TS. The most common feature of Turner syndrome is short stature. According to researchers, the average height of an adult woman with TS is 4 foot 8 inches. Approximately 90% of TS individuals will experience early ovarian failure. For most of these girls, it means their body will not enter puberty naturally. While individuals with TS are just as intelligent as you or I, many have problems with spatial temporal processing. This simply means they have a hard time imagining items in relation to each other. For example, Callie Grace can run a very straight line when she's inside and she has the walls to guide her. Put her outside in a great big open field, she can run a straight line to save her life. Girls and women with TS also have other nonverbal learning disabilities such as nonverbal memory and attention issues. Aside from these characteristics, which can take years to recognize, there are also some basic physical characteristics that describe women or girls with TS. They include narrow, high palate arches, low set ears, slight droop to the eyes or a lazy eye, broad chest, arms that turn out slightly at the elbows, edema of the hands and feet, short ring and pinky fingers, and a low hairline on the back of the neck. There are also many health risks common among individuals with Turner syndrome. The sooner individuals recognize the signs and get a clear diagnosis, the sooner they can begin to receive the medical care they need to allow them to live long, healthy, productive lives. Some form of cardiac abnormality occurs in 1 in every 3 cases of TS. The common among those are coarctation of the aorta. This is what Callie had and had to have repaired at 13 days old. For unexplained reason, women and girls with TS also have a higher risk of aortic dissection than the general population. And this is when the aorta separates from the heart. It's recommended that all individuals with TS and members of their interpersonal group know the signs of aortic dissection, as survival is dependent upon immediate medical attention. In addition to cardiac problems, 30% of all TS cases have kidney abnormalities. Mostly that boils down to many urinary tract infections, which aren't life-threatening in and of themselves, but if you don't get them treated, they can turn into problems that could be life-threatening. Women and girls should also be checked regularly for hypothyroidism, and that's just a condition that's easily diagnosed and treated with thyroid medications. Of all of the health risks associated with TS, that's probably the mildest. Another very common health risk for individuals with TS is ear infections. An aggressive treatment of ear infections is required to reduce the loss of hearing. Early hearing loss, as it is, happens in about 50% of TS cases. Anyone requiring them to wear hearing aids early. The last health risk I want to mention that is quite common for those with Turner syndrome is celiac disease. And celiac disease is simply the result of the body developing a toxic reaction to gluten. Due to the multiple health risks and the severity with which they can occur, the earlier one is diagnosed with Turner syndrome, the better. The problem is that Turner syndrome is still a rather obscure condition. There are not a lot of doctors who studied it. Many women I have read about went years simply living with their differences and being treated for the symptoms they experienced. They and their families thought she's just a sickly child, she's had poor luck medically. A simple test called a karyotype is used to diagnose individuals with Turner syndrome. And this test can be performed using blood or even amniotic fluid prenatally. Once the individuals are diagnosed, they can take preventative steps to catch health conditions before they become life-altering. Steps can also be taken to assist with the common conditions associated with Turner syndrome. Young girls can use growth hormone therapy, which Callie uses, that keeps her on the growth chart and will help her reach a more average female height. Girls who fail to enter puberty on their own can start using estrogen replacement therapy to help with breast development, help develop their female contours, help their menstruation begin, and help to improve bone density. Girls with spatial temporal processing, like Callie, can work with an occupational therapist to learn to compensate. Aside from early diagnosis, the right medical team is especially important. When Callie Grace was diagnosed, her pediatrician knew next to nothing about Turner syndrome. She heard of it, but she wasn't really familiar with it. She took the time to study, to get informed, to meet with other people, and to learn all she could. And now she has many other Turner's girls that come to see her because she knows what to expect and she can help the parents. It's also important that your doctors communicate with one another. Callie's doctors share notes, they talk, and they even make observations recommendations based off of their own observations. For instance, this summer, Callie's cardiologist called Tama, asking to move up the date of her echocardiogram because her endocrinologist had noticed a difference in her pulse and her blood pressure rates, and he had called the cardiologist. He could have told Tama, just follow up with your cardiologist, but instead he took the time to call her and say, this is the problem I found. And then it was up to the cardiologist to decide if this was an issue that needed attention. After all, why cause an already paranoid mama any more anxiety than needed, right? In conclusion, I'd just like to share with you a video that I really like. This video was made by James Legree, who's a professor of theater at the Marian University in Indianapolis. All of the actresses in this video have Turner syndrome.
I'm just like everyone else, yet different than everyone else. I am your friend.
your sister, your daughter, your granddaughter, your classmate, your college student, your neighbor, your teacher, your caregiver, your school counselor, your flight attendant, your nurse, your program analyst, your aunt, your judge, your volunteer. I'm just like everybody else, yet different than everybody else. I am one in every 2,500. I take growth hormones. I take estrogen. I have lots of ear infections. I have extra skin on my neck. I have a lot of mold. I have learning difficulties. I will build my family through adoption. I have money mold. I have thyroid problems. I have Crohn's. I have cardiac issues. I have low bone density. I have kidney issues. I am a mosaic Turner. I have hearing aids. I have Turner syndrome, and that's part of what makes me, 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 me. Different than everyone else, yet the same as everyone else. How about you?
I hope this video served to show you how vast and different individuals with Turner syndrome can be. TS is not a syndrome that is prejudiced. It can occur in any female regardless of race, nationality, socioeconomic status, religion. It can happen in anybody. I hope this presentation has helped to open your eyes to what is now an obscure chromosomal anomaly that could one day become a fact of life for you or someone you know. That's how it was and is for us. When naming her, her parents never realized just how true her name would be. She is our amazing grace, and we thank God every day that she is with us. We participate in support groups, learn all we can, and seek help whenever we need it to make sure she has the happiest, most complete life that she can. If you'd like more information on Turner syndrome or to find a group in your area, log on to www.turnersyndrome.com.
Still here?